on checking me out. The darkness had it in the atmosphere.
Where am I?
Shut up! Deserve to be here.
What? Deserve to be where?
Hell House. Now shut up.
As I stood there, realizing I'd actually be in hell.
And then I felt my body begin to move. I was strapped to a gurney, but it was like my body began to float. And I'm floating through this smoke. And I'm going faster and faster. And I can't understand what's going on. And I begin to hear voices all around in the smoke. And the voices are crying. The voices are screaming. And there's all kinds of groaning. And then it's like I'm coming out of this smoke, like I'm coming out of a tunnel. And I'm looking down into what appeared to be the open mouth of a volcanic crater, like a burning lake. And I'm falling into this. I'm just going down into this, and I have no control. And the smell is awful, and I can't breathe, and my ears are full of these screams. And then, as I'm going down into this, I begin to look into the flames, and I begin to see people. I mean, there's thousands. There's too many. I don't know how many people are in the flames. And they're screaming, and their arms are flailing, and their bodies are rolling, and they're burning all over. They're burning like in liquid fire. But they're not burning up. They're just burning. And like a close-up lens on a camera, some of those faces loomed up in front of me. Their faces are screaming, contorted, and they're calling my name. Ronnie, Ronnie, don't come here. There's no escape.
Hell seems to be a terrible place. Nothing that we will encounter in this world. But what do researchers say? Dr. Tony Lawrence from the University of Coventry.
From my position in terms of transpersonal psychology, the psychology of spirituality, which would deal directly with notions of evil and of good, and of hell and of heaven. My perspective on what hell would be is that hell is not a place that you go to as such. Hell is more a conditional state of mind that a person has when they're ignorant of the possibilities in their life, the possibilities for love and joy and happiness, and of leading a meaningful life, so that in fact anyone at any one moment in time, by virtue of just being ignorant of their circumstances and of themselves and their place in the world, would literally be in hell. But it wouldn't be, it's not a place that you can go to, it's a state of being, for me personally. Yeah.
We don't know what happens after we die. For sure, there's no objectively, hell isn't a planet on the other side of Jupiter that we haven't discovered yet. This is clearly a mental phenomena that happens to us when we die. It's real. The calculus is real. Mathematics is real. Love is real. So these experiences are real experiences, but they're dynamic experiences. They happen to us when we die. I think the best way to understand the hellish experience is that we pass through hell as part of the dying process, if that hell is based on what our lives were like. If we're isolated, if we're alone, if we harm others, if we have religious belief systems which incorporate an objectively real hell, if we're afraid of the dark and we don't understand that darkness is part of the dying experience, all of those things woven together, or any of them individually, will then contribute to having a hellish near-death experience.
Is the experience then purely subjective? Some experts believe not. Dr. Richard Kent, a retired medical doctor, has traveled the world studying the NDE phenomenon over many years and has written several books on the subject. Of the 300 case studies he has made, an alarming amount report not only the existence of a heavenly afterlife reality, but also a hellish one.
A place called hell. And they describe it as an absolutely terrible and awful place. Now, I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but in England, many churches don't talk about hell very much. I don't know why. Jesus spoke about hell a great deal. He said it's a place to be avoided. Anyway, they describe hell as somewhere as dark and oppressive. They also were told in the scriptures where it is. It's in the center of the earth. Now, people say, well, where do you get that from? Well, it's in the scriptures. Matthew 12 is verses 40 and 41, I believe. Jesus says, I give you the sign of Jonah. Just as Jonah was in the belly of a great fish for 3 days and for 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth for 3 days and for 3 nights. Now, Jesus talked about hell, or the place of the departed spirits, at the time of Jesus, being in the heart of the earth. All right? So it's somewhere in the heart of this planet, I believe. Now, for example, in the Old Testament, the spirit of Samuel came up from Sheol, the Old Testament hell, and the sons of Korah went down to Sheol, the Old Testament hell. We're told in the book of Ephesians that one day every knee will bow, those above the earth, those on the earth, and those under the earth. So I believe it's somewhere down there. Now, they describe it as very hot, it's very unpleasant. There are demons there who are tormenting the people who go there. It says in the scriptures that Lazarus was in torment. It's just a horrendous, awful place. It's a place where people are terrified, are frightened, and people even who've seen hell, even years later, they recoil in horror at what they saw there. Just a place of awfulness. People have seen Satan there. People have actually had conversations with Satan. People have had conversations with demons there, and people have heard the demons swear. They said they never heard language such as they heard in hell. They had all the swear words that are commonly used and more.
Was assigned to an assembly belt under penalty of judgment by some helper, evil over here, if he didn't complete placing these giant multicolored puzzles, like a jigsaw puzzle that was coming by, one piece to the next. If he didn't get it on time, he was under penalty. And he was screaming, I'm in hell. Where's the hell? To him, that was hell. He never wants that again. Never. He converted his whole life. Converted his wife, too, who he woke in that hospital in Knoxville with his head in her lap in the hospital bed. It was a very touching story, and it's life-changing. Everything is so violently life-changing, or so peacefully life-changing, so wonderful. So you're onto a subject that is important to every individual present. Is it safe to die? Do I know where I'm going before I get there? That's the question.
And what of heaven? Is it the blinding white light, the benevolent presence of a supreme being, the wondrous feeling of love and peace that we've always imagined it to be? Some NDE survivors also got to glimpse heaven and found it just as real and tangible as hell had been.
As I was drawn into the opening, I could now see there was a tunnel. As I looked along the length of it, I could see the source of the radiance. My first thought is the center of the universe. Look at the light. Look at the power coming from there. As I'm being moved towards it, I watch as a wave of radiance comes up. As this wave of light comes off the source, it touches me, and I feel warmth, comfort. All that kind of fear and darkness just seems to go out of me. and I feel a living light flow through me. Shafts of radiance came out from the central core. It was like a white fire. Phenomenal radiance in the central core. From that, I watched this brilliant light piercing out. I thought even the stars in the universe, even the constellations, must find their energy source from this focal point. What is that light? Is there someone in there surrounded by this radiance? As I questioned that in my own mind, a voice spoke to me from the centre of the light.
Right, for sure. Well, first of all, their spirit leaves their bodies, and then not always, but very commonly, they meet Jesus Christ. They describe him as nearly 6 foot tall, but radiating light, tremendous amount of light coming from him, from his face and from his chest and from his arms and from his legs. Many people describe he's still dressed in the clothes appropriate to a Jewish rabbi. Of course, Jesus was a Jewish rabbi, and he has a golden sash around his waist. Many people, as they come close to, in their minds come these words, "You're in the presence of the Son of God." And at that point, many people get down and start to worship Jesus Christ. And at that point, they realize he's still got holes in his hands and in his feet, because they're quite close to his feet by then. And they realize that those crucifixion holes are still there. But people, it isn't just the appearance of Jesus, it's the fact that they feel in the presence of so much love. Many people said they'd never felt like that. They'd never felt so completely surrounded by love, powerful as that. It's just incredible love. I mean, for example, some of the people I've interviewed have been hardened Second World War soldiers. I mean, these are, tough guys. And they started to cry, as they described, coming to the presence of Jesus. Amazing, really. Mm. And then, of course, after that, people either go to heaven, not invariably, but many, either go to heaven or go to hell. Now, let's talk about the nice place. In heaven, first of all, they find themselves in their spirit bodies. They're looking down and they're looking at bright white hands and bright white feet. In fact, the whole body is bright and light and white. They're different bodies. They feel young, they feel rejuvenated, they feel fully in control of all their senses, and yet